walk deeper into the belly of the beast if it means I'm able to further limit.
So I'm on the street down here in Veracruz, Mexico, and I'm very honored to be invited to a conference about Tumin. What is Tumin? Tumin is a indigenous currency here in Mexico that is basically a local currency. So it operates outside of the government, and I was invited to come and speak at their conference. I invited one of the creators of Tumin to come and speak at Anarchapulco, and I learned quite a bit about what this local currency actually was, and I'm going to be going and speaking at their conference. So what I'm sharing with you tonight is going to be part of one speech that he made at Anarchapulco talking about Tumin, and then my speech talking about the crypto aspect that we're going to be adding to Tumin. So I'm super excited to be digitizing a paper Mexican currency that exists outside of the government. Proud moment for me, proud moment for the crypto show. Fuck, it's a proud moment for humanity, if you ask me. Fuck the government and fuck the government's money. Let's make an
Reciben
alternative.
gratuitamente 500 pesos en la bolsa que antes no tenían.
So now every participant that wants to go into this economy will receive 500 pesos that before this they didn't used to have.
Y podrá usar la riqueza real que está ahí estancada.
So they'll be able to use the real riches of the assets and the products that they have going around.
Y podrá vender los productos porque los compañeros miembros del Tumin te van a comprar a ti.
And they know that their products are going to be sold because the Tumin community and the Tumin economy is going to be used to buy and purchase their products and services.
Entonces, ese es los principales beneficios económicos. Sin embargo, también hay otros beneficios, como es generar un tejido social.
Those are some of the economical and financial advantages, but there are also like creating social networks.
Porque esta moneda no está basada en una gran tecnología poderosa, sino está basada en actitudes humanas.
Because this money isn't based on great technology, but it's based on how humans behave.
Como principalmente la confianza, la solidaridad, la ayuda mutua, y eso es lo que nos hace también vulnerables, y es un reto para nosotros atrevernos a ser vulnerables.
Our money and our economy is based on trust and helping each other and to becoming part of the community. And these are some of the challenges that we face creating this new economy. We think that government doesn't like our money, not because of the amount of money that is going around, but because of what we are creating.
Es porque nosotros
And go out to the government and ask for their permission or authorization to do this. So that is why we think they got mad at our product. Another thing that they don't like is that this makes people not depend on them and government, and now they cannot make people fight each other. So we are being independent of our community.
y la otra cosa que what the government wants is to see us fighting each other against each other. But with this Tumin, we get united, and that's what they don't want. Okay.
Wide and varied uses once you start to understand the concept of money and how it started and why and how it got co-opted. Danny's going to talk about, Danny Sessom, I'll introduce him in a second, but he recognized what they were doing. This kind of thing has been going on for decades in America. Before crypto, there were efforts to do the same kind of things. It is so important how it ties to what everybody needs. That's why it's always rural communities, because what's coming is going to be a food thing. I'm just saying, man. It's going to be a food thing. Do you got food? Where are you going to get your cucumbers? Where are you going to get your meat? Where are you going to get your eggs, if there's any left? So this is important to have, how you can, the producers that make the food that come up through the economy, the cities and so on, can they keep their wealth there? Because what did he talk about? Anything that they produce, their surplus, the value was leaving the community and going out and not returning. So this is fundamental in economics, what these guys are doing. Now, we went from metaverse to your verse. Danny's going to talk about some of the technologies and so on that keep your transactions private, that can create blockchains that can support and go parallel with what they're doing. So I know Danny from, a long time ago. When crypto first started, Danny's kind of like the crypto version of our a humanitarian, a philanthropist that goes around looking for the people in need, like the orphans. That was a Danny thing. So I remember when he had a RV traveling the country, and he was doing promotions for crypto named Dash. Now, when the hurricanes happened, I remember Ron Paul's town where he was at got devastated. So the first day, Danny's going to help Ron Paul. The Levolution, make sure you're okay. How many tree limbs we got to pick up? And what he wound up doing, they were okay because they had enough support structure, but making sandwiches, handing out personal hygiene products, a lot of it donated by people so that we could outreach to the communities for them to understand when things went down, we were there to help. Danny's been doing that between America and Mexico for a long time, but he understands the importance of the type of blockchains that are needed to be able to provide us this communication and exchange of value to make sure that the anarchist, leave-me-alonist, voluntarist society is successful. And Danny's going to help explain to you what he's done, what he's doing, what's going to happen. And I'm glad that how many of you are the new people that have been here? This is your first Anarchapulco. So, are you starting to get the vibe? We can take care of it ourselves. There's no changing or fixing the government. It's already fixed. You know what I mean? So we're just need to prove to ourselves that there's technology and philosophy and capabilities and community that can take care of ourselves, which we can. Danny's going to help explain it to you. Danny Sessom.
Awesome. Good to be here at another Anarchapulco. And yeah, man, like you said, when I seen Tumin, I seen not only awesomeness, but an opportunity. I knew it wasn't digital, but I had to find out what was going on there. So I was in Austin, Texas, and I was about to go and meet up with Jose in Monterey for blockchain land. And I was telling everybody, oh, man, I'm on my way to Veracruz right now. There's this really cool shit going on, and I got to go down there and find this guy. So, I show up in Veracruz, and it was 2:30 in the morning, like a dumbass. I'm driving my motorcycle at night in the rain, and everybody says, don't drive at night, it's crazy. So I show up there, get some sleep. I wake up the next morning, I walk to the town square, and, the first person I asked, hey, do you take Tumin? Like, nope. So the second person I asked, oh, yeah, I take Tumin. So, okay, cool. So, I'm in town 15 minutes walking around. I've already got 20 Tumin. I bought four different Tumins and 5s and 10s. Actually, I guess I got 30 of them. And I'm like, well, where do I find this guy? So, the lady, oh, I know him. So she calls up Juan, and within an hour, he's at my hotel. And I said, I want you to come to Anarchapulco and speak and tell people about this currency. So, you know, I did an interview with him. It's on the crypto show, and we talked about it, and he told me a story about how basically the government persecuted him. One thing he didn't tell you is he was a human rights professor at the Universidad de Veracruzana. And so this started as a project for him at the university. Well, after the bank did sue him and they won, well, then he became a threat because the news organizations started plastering this all over the place, and that's why 25 new cities started using it. Well, then suddenly he's no longer needed at the university. So I don't know who at the bank, you know, the Central Bank of Mexico called the university and said, yeah, we're not going to need him anymore. So now, you know, he's barely struggling to survive so that he can fight the fight and keep this thing going. And it's working great. Because, you know, I go and meet him. We've got him here. Now there's merchants here. Secret Garden wants to use it. Bonefilled Pikes, Max's Bar. So it's going to be starting here, you know. Yesterday on this stage, you know, we had a talk with him and the chief of the dance of the sun and the moon, and he knows all these other tribes. Now they're making deals to get the, you know, it's going to blow up. And when I seen this, I'm like, man, we got to make a blockchain for this. And I asked him, how come you're not digital? Well, we don't know how to do that. So okay, cool. So I work with Hush. And Hush is basically an asset chain that is a ZK Snarks, private by default. You can build your own privacy chain on there with basically one line of code. I don't know if it's up there. You'll see how we built the test network for Tumin. Yeah, I think my son spun it up 2 days ago, and we've got the video. Yeah, this is Tumin here. No, that was Tumin. Anyway. You can do this for your own, you know, if you want to create a private chat network or whatever, you could just start a new network and, you know, use these coins as the fuel for your messaging. It's Z to Z, so think of it as Signal. Only instead of being tied to a phone number or an email address, it's tied to your Z address, which, you know, if you're using Hush, the Anon set is about 3 million. I think Pirate's around 1.3, and Hush is 2.72 million right now. So it's pretty high because they're using higher outputs. So they also have the highest rate. Your anonymity set excels faster than any other ZK chain out there because of that 8 outputs that they're using. Anyway, so it's a great asset. I built the very first chain, which was Dragon X. And we launched that as fair as possible over 2 years. You know, I did a lot of research. How am we going to do this? I started off looking at Komodo, looking at Zencash or Horizon, whatever they call them now. All these different chains that I was going to launch the Monero network on, which was kind of a joke. And then I ended up with Hush. And they offered me everything that I wanted. And not only that, it's you know, it's a small project, so it's some really dedicated developers. They just want to build shit. They don't care about what the price is. I mean, it's worth like 6 cents, something like that. They just work their ass off to try to build something cool. And now, you know, with Dragon X, we've taken the ZK Snark chain that is, you know, the mining algorithm for most ZK chains is Equihash, which is ASICs, you know, algorithm-specific integrated chips, meaning that you have to buy, you know, hardcore hardware in order to mine this stuff. Well, we changed the algorithm to RandomX, which is what Monero uses, to make it a little bit more decentralized so that you or anybody that has a halfway decent computer can actually mine this. And, you know, we're on Safe Trade, which is safe.trade. You can go there, no KYC. It's pretty cheap. It's tradable with Hush right now. Yeah, check that stuff out, and that's the crypto side of the talk. I do want to talk about the opportunities that I've also gotten here with Anarchapulco over the years. You know, I've been to every Anarchapulco and involved in every one. The very first year we started doing our radio show, because I did the crypto show, which was a pirate radio show out of Austin, Texas, from the
Brave New Books. We underneath the Chase Bank, we're undermining the bank and the man because we're literally mining Bitcoin under Chase Bank while we're broadcasting pirate radio talking about Bitcoin. So, you know, it was pretty hardcore stuff. And, you know, later on we moved to the man. We were on Bloomberg for a while. And but, you know, in doing all that, I started doing the stuff that Ernie was talking about. You know, right off the bat, we noticed that people were talking about how Bitcoin was just, you're going to buy drugs with it. You're going to make a hit. You're going to do this and that. So we decided that we would start doing cool shit with crypto. So how can we build a good image? Well, let's start a charity. Well, our first charity was for Ross Ulbricht. We started raising money for Ross Ulbricht's legal fund. We turned our website into, you know, the polyester path, as I called it. And people from all over the world, I mean, Russia, everywhere, were just donating services and whatever, you know, just the My Magic Mud guys, they were fantastic. They gave a bunch of stuff. So we were sending that stuff all over the world. You would literally go to our website, bid on something, and then we would tell that person, hey, this guy paid and sent the money to Ross, and then that person would send it to the buyer. We ended up raising $12,000 like that, you know. So that was cool. And then, you know, we went on to the next thing was Arcade City. Those guys, they created a rideshare app, which never actually became an app, but it was a kind of a pirate rideshare that was happening on Facebook because Uber and Lyft had decided to fucking leave Austin. I'm like, all right, cool. Well, we've got you covered. So within like 2 weeks, there's 45,000 members, and we're taking crypto. We've got these guys down in the bank. Hey, man, come down here. Check this out. How about accepting crypto? So then we've got a whole other group where these guys are accepting crypto. Then another guy comes in and says, hey, we could feed the homeless. I've got this great idea. This was, I don't know if anybody knew Jason King. He did Satoshi's Forest and all that in Florida. Well, so we took his unsung.org and we turned that basically into a competition. He made an app, and we had these just crazy anarchist people that were on the Facebook group. And we raised, I mean, tons of fucking money. I don't even remember how much money we raised for those guys. And it was just the drivers that would go and pick up the food from 7-Eleven, anybody who would donate stuff and just deliver it directly to the homeless people. So it just kept growing and growing. And then the next thing you know, like he was talking about, Hurricane Harvey happens. And Hurricane Harvey came in, and the storm was so bad it knocked our tower out in Austin, which is, you know, when you're pirate radio, it's not really a very big tower. It's just kind of stapled to the side of an apartment complex in North Austin. So it didn't take much to get us out. So we're broadcasting live on Facebook, and a good friend of mine and one of his friends here, Baz, I don't know where you're at, but Bill Klein said, I will match up to 10 Bitcoins for anybody that donates. So he sends 10 Bitcoins. Instead of matching, he just sends the 10. We have 43,000. It was $4,300 then, so we had 43 grand. And then we rushed into Hurricane Harvey while the hurricane is still coming in. Everybody's driving out, and I'm driving in. like, where's this asshole going? So I go all the way to Corpus Christi, and I'm catching the back end of the storm, and then I start working my way back in, you know, through Houston. And we were there for 6 months. We ended up receiving about $60,000 in donations from all over the world, as well as the funding that we had from Dash. And that we ended up giving care packages and stuff to over 3,100 people. We snuck into NRG Center and delivered stuff that the government would not give to people. Like that, when I went to NRG Center, they said, no, we don't need donations. And I had like a truckload of stuff in the back because I'd met a bunch of people at NRG Center that said, hey, yeah, we need that stuff. Bring it over. So when I got there, you know, the first night, they said, no, we don't need that. Don't come around here. So I go to another place, and they told me the same thing, you know, J.R. Brown Center, whatever it was. And then I decided, you know what? Fuck that. I'm not asking permission. I'm just going to go there and do it. So I went back to NRG Center, And there were these people who were like refugees there, and they recognized my truck because it had Dash emblems on it. Well, we had also bought a boat, and my other team was over by Beaumont pulling people out. We pulled 30 people out with this, aluminum John boat. And these guys were two of the people that we pulled out. So they're like, all right, don't worry about it, man. We'll go in. They got me some passes and shit. They got us volunteer passes, and they smuggled us in with this big cart. And so we were bringing in packages to everybody inside NRG Center that weren't getting the shit the government was supposed to be giving them, because they had it like hidden off in some back room somewhere. And what we noticed when we were in there is that they like lines. Government loves lines. They would have these long tables set up, and you have thousands of people in there, and they would have a line for the soap, a line for the shampoo, a line for the, like, why the fuck not just put it all in one line and have a bunch of lines? No. You're going to go through each and every line just to fuck with people. Like, this is fucking retarded. This is government, So, anyway, that was very successful. It was magic. I mean, to go from, I'm a construction contractor. I've been building shit for 30 years. To suddenly my job is going around doing this. I'm like, fucking A, I want to keep doing this shit. So the Dash network thought that was a great idea, and Dash kept funding us to do that. And very shortly after that, in Mexico City, they had an earthquake. And I contacted Jose. I'm like, hey, man, what can we do down there? He says, yeah, there's a lot of damage. So I come and I meet him in Palanca, and he shows me where to go. And it turns out it's like a lot of apartment complexes and shit like that. It's like, no, there's no way I can rebuild an apartment complex. I need to go smaller. So he sent me to Puebla. He told me, hey, go over here in this area. And then so I go on this big search, and I find out that there's a little town called Atlisco, and a sub-village of that is called Metepec. And so we go there, we start researching, and we find out, who needs the help the most. And we had a pretty decent fund to work with. And we go and we knock on the first door that we knock on. It was a guy, I don't know, maybe 25 or something, and two young kids, a boy and a girl, about 7 and 8 years old. And I had an interpreter for me, and they were like, okay, well, whose house is this? And he said, it's my sister's house. It's their mother. Oh, okay. Well, can we talk to her? And no, she's in Mexico City. So this is December 15th. I don't know if anybody knows anything about Mexico, but in mid-December, people will go on a pilgrimage all over Mexico carrying the effigy of Mother Mary on their back. And it's usually like a really large one. And they will walk to Mexico City, to the basilica, to pray for whatever it is that they want. And that's where she was. She had walked to Mexico City from Puebla, which is like 80 or 90 miles. She had to go over the mountain between two volcanoes. And she was praying for somebody to come and fix her house. So I'm knocking on the door. Hey, I'm here to fix your house. And they're telling me that she fucking went to pray for somebody to come and fix her house. I'm like, yeah, I like doing this shit. Yeah. So we ended up building, from that funding, we built 4 houses. And it didn't really take very long at all. And Jose, with Bitso, we were able to transfer the Dash into cash, because Bitso did not accept Dash. But for this project, they made an exception. And so we were able to work directly with the Dash that we got to rebuild these houses. And man, it was something else. We did run into some more corruption from the government when they seen what we were doing. They came over and said, hey, Danny, we like what you're doing, man. We really like you. And I'm like, oh, thanks. Hey, we have this thing over here. We could use some help on it. So it's this government building called the DIF, which is basically a welfare office, somewhat. You know, they take care of small, children, and actually they do some funding for orphanages and stuff. So any government money that goes to that kind of thing actually goes through the diff. They help out old folks and stuff like that. Well, he drags me over there and says, "Yeah, can you fix this up?" So I didn't have all the money for that, so I reached out, Roger Ver, a few other people, and we got some more funding. Like, hey, let's do a community center. So we rebuilt this government building just to keep the government off of our back. So it's like we have to bribe the government by fixing their buildings so that we can build our own buildings without having to jump through hoops and do all this moronic bullshit. So, yeah, man, it goes. The stories can just go on and on and on, man. I've just been living my life like that, just letting things happen. I don't question, what's next. If I feel like doing something, I kind of feel like it's right, and I just go with that. Things just seem to keep coming my way. So, yeah, man, get out of your own way. Trust yourself, and take your path. Fucking, it's not all about how much you can acquire. Sometimes you just got to live your life, So I'm going to leave you with that. All right.